Gary, why haven't you said anything about Rishi Sunak?
Yeah, Rishi Sunak.
Recently, anyway.
Yeah, so obviously Rishi Sunak, man of the people, one of my most mentioned names on this channel. It's been in the news a lot recently. So people who've been following the stuff that I do will know that I talk about Rishi Sunak a lot. He's raised tax on ordinary people. He's resided over the biggest ever increase in millionaire and billionaire wealth. And now he's getting a lot of negative press, and I'm getting a lot of calls from the media asking me to talk about it. And I haven't said anything, I haven't gone any of the media. And the reason that I haven't done any media on Rishi Sunak is basically because I don't really care, to be honest, about Rishi Sunak personally, about Rishi Sunak's wife, about Rishi Sunak's tax affairs, his wife's tax affairs, his father-in-law's tax affairs, right? The reason I go on and on about Rishi Sunak is because his policies, his government's policies, are about to force half of this country into fucking poverty, right? That's why I go on and on about Rishi Sunak, right? I never met Rishi Sunak, right? I don't know Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak might be a really nice guy, for all I know, right? The reason I go on and on about Rishi Sunak is because of what is happening to this country, and it's his name on the policies, right? Because he's the Chancellor, right? And now Rishi Sunak's all over the press, and he's become suddenly very unpopular, and there's a good chance that he's going to get pushed out, and those policies are going to stay. You know what I mean? Right, so I can go on Sky News and I can go on Talk Radio and I can be like, yeah, I told you so, Rishi Sunak is a dickhead, whatever, right? It's not going to change those policies, right? And if Rishi Sunak gets pushed out or gets sidelined or gets taken out as Chancellor, which it looks like it's very possible it might happen, don't get distracted, right? Look at the money, right? Look at the policies, right? Are they cutting your taxes as an ordinary working person? Well, no, they're raising your taxes, right? Are they doing the only thing we actually need to do, which is raise tax on the super rich? That's not going to happen, right? So whether Rishi Sunak stays or Rishi Sunak goes, or whether Rishi Sunak's wife pays tax in India or pays tax in this country or pays tax in the Cayman Islands or doesn't pay tax anywhere, what matters is, are you bankrupting the people of this country or not? You know what I mean? And my concern is we get dragged into this sort of tittle-tattle and it becomes like an episode of Coronation Street, you know what I mean? And it suddenly all becomes about personalities and individuals, and we allow ourselves to get dragged into the gossip of it, basically. And in the meantime, the government is continually cutting tax on the super rich and making life worse for ordinary people, right? So that's why I haven't spoken about it, because, you know, I don't want this channel to be about this sort of typical politics stuff where it's just like, oh, this guy's a dickhead, that guy's a dickhead, right? This channel is about, why can't your kids get houses? Why can't you get a good job? You know what I mean? And Rishi Sunak is a part of that, but if Rishi Sunak goes and that keeps happening, then the problem isn't solved, right? You know what I'm saying? But look, this is what I'll say about the thing itself, okay? When the news came out, Rishi Sunak's wife is a non-dom. I wasn't surprised because I knew Rishi Sunak's wife is a non-dom. And that's not because I know Rishi Sunak or I know Rishi Sunak's wife. It's because I know that these guys are billionaires and that billionaires are non-doms, right? I think people need to understand, right? Rishi Sunak's wife is not the exception, right? Rishi Sunak's wife is exactly what all of the richest people in this country are doing, which is paying very little tax. And it's not even really about, these guys are not jumping through hoops, right? First of all, these people are not rich. These people are unbelievably, incredibly, ridiculously rich, okay? You know, it's in the newspapers, I'm rich, okay? I'm rich enough that I can quit my job and run a YouTube channel and still live like a decent life and maybe have a family one day, you know what I mean? That's how rich I am. These guys are 1,000 times richer than me, okay? That's how much, these guys get paid 10, 20 million pounds a year just for getting out of bed, just from how rich they are, you know? And that's Rishi Sunak, and his wife is probably 5, 6 times as rich, you know what I mean? So these guys are crazy, crazy, crazy rich. They have whole teams that manage their tax affairs, and the teams will optimize their tax affairs so they don't pay tax. You know what I mean? And this is totally normal, right? And hopefully in the next couple of months we're going to have Steph Brobby on the channel, who is the tax advisor, well, was a tax advisor to very wealthy people, and she'll say the same thing, which is that this is the normal way that extremely wealthy people manage their taxes. They manage their investments and finances so they don't pay tax. So was I surprised? No. And the fact that I'm not surprised is also the reason why I don't want to focus on these individuals, because the problem is not an individual Rishi Sunak, right? The problem is not an individual Rishi Sunak's wife. The whole billionaire class is doing this. The whole billionaire class is paying very little tax, especially as a percentage of their income, right? So they're all doing it. What you should take from that is that everybody's doing it. And if Rishi Sunak goes, don't think that's a victory, because it's not. A victory will be if wealth inequality starts decreasing, if housing starts becoming more affordable and more obtainable for ordinary families. That will be a victory. So it's not about individual people. And actually, in one way, if Rishi Sunak goes, it will be a shame, because Rishi Sunak is literally a member of one of the wealthiest families in the world, right? Of a super billionaire family, okay? And to have one of the richest people in the world, if we take his whole family, being the guy who is pushing half the country into poverty, another 20% taking their entire disposable income, and presiding over the biggest ever increase in billionaire wealth. What that does is highlight how grotesque it is what is happening, and make it more obvious, and make it more disgusting. You know what I mean? Normally, these guys are behind the scenes owning the newspapers, you know what I mean, or funding the parties, and you don't see their names on it. And the politicians themselves, whilst they're rich, they're not super rich, and they can say we're doing it for the country. But here we have a literal billionaire doing it, you know what I mean? And it highlights what is actually happening, which is that there is a billionaire class that is stripping away our government services and taking our houses and our assets and putting us into debt, you know what I mean? So having Rishi Sunak there, it's actually good, because it's taken the blindfold off and like, look, this is what is happening here. You know what I mean? The billionaires are taking your stuff, and yeah, normally it's more complicated than that. You know, they fund think tanks that, you know, legitimize ideas that you shouldn't tax rich people, you know what I mean? Or they fund economists, or they fund politicians, or they own newspapers, you know what I mean? But here you actually have the billionaire coming out and just doing it himself, you know what I mean? So in a way, you know, if Rishi goes, it will be a shame, because Rishi being there is the #1 advertisement for what the fuck is happening here, which is the billionaires are taking everything, and that's why you can't afford to eat, you know what I mean? That's the truth. So this is the only thing I'll say about Rishi Sunak's personal affairs. I will keep talking about his policy, and I'll keep saying that he's a billionaire, because you need to understand that if this guy's a billionaire, when he's deciding who to tax, billionaires or you, that is going to influence his decision, you know what I mean? Like, it would be ridiculous to believe otherwise, you know what I mean? Look, Rishi Sunak's father-in-law is one of the richest people in the world. Do you think he doesn't speak to him? And what do you think his father-in-law says when he talks about, okay, what are you going to do for tax policy? You know what I mean? You think he has any interest in that? You know, that money will go to Rishi Sunak's kids, you know what I mean? If we look at the actual behaviour of super wealthy people, their general behaviour, and this is not all of them, but the vast majority of them, is to simply focus relentlessly on maximising the wealth of their kids, okay? So, do you think Rishi Sunak is going to do that? You know, the vast majority of very wealthy people do that, you know. So if you are a billionaire and you are in government, perhaps, just perhaps, your priority as an individual is going to be, how can I manoeuvre this policy so that it's as kind as possible to billionaires? And, you know, we'll talk about what that does to ordinary people in another video. But this is my single statement, you know. Nothing personal against Rishi Sunak. It's about the policy. It's about the policy. It's about who has the money. It's about the distribution. It's about the economy. It's about whether ordinary people can have houses and good jobs and financial security. And that is about the economic policy. So whether Rishi Sunak stays or Rishi Sunak goes, listen, this is Coronation Street nonsense, okay? This is schoolboy stuff, okay? Focus on the policy, follow the money, don't worry about the individual people, and keep watching the channel. Which camera am I looking at?
All of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And also, Rishi, you know, I'm sorry for keeping making it about you, you know. I would love to talk to you. Send me a message, comment down below. Everyone else is doing it.
Well, actually, you've just said that it's good that he's in power, so you
yeah, he's my boy, man. He's my boy. I like to see a billionaire just take the mask off for once and just directly rob everyone. Yeah.
Well,
So it's intentionally designed, national insurance, so that very rich people pay a very low percent. There is one other thing they can do with that massive amount of income. They can buy your mum's house.